And welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of our fasting check-in. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode, and you have caught me on Friday when we are doing a complete review of fasting. How do we start a fast? How do we prepare for a fast? How do we get through a fast successfully? And then, of course, how do we break a fast so that we maintain the benefits that we've gotten through the fast itself? Hey, I am talking right now to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes, who want to improve their metabolic health, and we are using fasting as one of those amazing tools, one of those amazing mechanisms that allows us to do that. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, that's right, we are living a limitless life. We're not allowing anything from outside, anything from inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do to be metabolically healthy. We're not allowing any obstacles to prevent us from setting up ourselves to be the best version of ourselves. We're presenting our best health, our best self, and our best plans for the future. Whatever platform you're on, I welcome you. Whether you are on Instagram, you are on Twitch, you are on LinkedIn, Facebook, and then, of course, here on YouTube, welcome you to the platform. If you've not been watching, we are in the process of, there's so many things that are going on right now. So right now we are doing my 100-day walk to consistency. We're on day number 45, I believe, 45 or 46. So you still got some time to jump in and be there with us. And we are working to build a consistent routine that will set us up for success going forward. Because we're not in the process of doing something for a week or 2 weeks or just a couple of weeks. We're in the process of changing our metabolic health, changing our metabolic life. And in order to do that, we need some structure. Often people don't fail, not because they don't have desire or drive. They fail because they don't have a structure to look at. So we welcome you. Like I said, if you've not done that, make sure you get out there and make sure you get to look through those. So number one, my 100-day walk to consistency. The next thing is that we've been walking through this path of limitless living. And limitless living, as you heard me say, we are breaking those boundaries. We're not being confined. We are in the process of setting ourselves up for metabolic success. And on our channel, we've been walking through that path so far. And we do that on our Dwain Woode MD Live every Monday at 7 p.m. Central. And then, of course, here on our fasting check-ins, we are implementing some of the things that we learn. But we'll come back and we'll set the stage for that here in just a minute. You know how we do. And off to the side, let me go ahead and pull that up. You will see that I have my Dexcom Clarity, report. Let's see, where did that go? Just a second here. There we go. I got my Dexcom Clarity report, which will come up in just a minute, and I've got my monitors off to the side. Let's go ahead and get those there, and here we are. Here we go. All right. So I've got my monitors. I've got my Keto Mojo monitor, and I've got my Contour, which is right here. Keto Mojo, of course, gives me glucose and ketones, and then my Contour gives me glucose, and then right below me, right, what you're seeing, that's my my report from my Dexcom Clarity, and we'll kind of look at that here in just a minute. Okay. The other thing that we'll do here in just a second is we'll do our check-in, and for the check-in, we typically do a how am I feeling, right? We go through that process. How am I feeling right now? So we'll talk about that. How am I feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally as we move through this space. So let's go ahead and let's set this up, right? Let's talk about where we are, what we're doing, and where you have caught us. Well, not caught us, but where you're catching us or joining us. Let me say it that way. So metabolic health. So what does metabolism mean? Metabolism is the body's mechanism for converting the things that we eat into energy to survive, to work. Okay? So everything that you eat goes into the body takes it, it converts it into a form that then gives us energy. So we know of the three major, or the three macronutrients, so proteins, fats, and carbs. And those are really the essence of the things that we eat. But there are also things like micronutrients, vitamins, minerals that the body also needs: calcium, potassium, copper, zinc. All those things are things that we find in our food. And so the body takes the food, takes all of those things that we put in, and it converts it into energy for us to use. Metabolism, then, is the driving force. It is the thing that takes our body and gives it the energy that it needs. I liken that to, in the Marvel movie, when Tony Stark designs the arc reactor, and he takes the old one out and he puts the new one in and he turns it, right? So that energy comes through the process of metabolism. So anytime there's disruption in the process of metabolism, then our body suffers. Going back to my analogy, and I know you may not be a Tony Stark fan, but I am, Iron Man. You remember he had to adjust, or he had to make changes to the arc reactor because it was actually damaging his system. That was the reason for him trying to figure out the palladium, right? The new substance that he did, and he put it in, and all of a sudden he has this super powered reactor that's producing clean energy. But the old one was working, but it was causing damage in his body. I want you to hear what I'm saying. So as we're talking about metabolism is the process of converting the food into energy. So if there's something happening in our metabolism, then downstream from that, we begin having problems. That is what happens when we talk about metabolic diseases. Because the metabolism is dysfunctional, and so we have diseases that are produced. And so those diseases come in lots of different forms, and they're typical things that you've heard: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, coronary artery disease, polycystic ovarian syndrome, of course, diabetes, obesity, and prediabetes. Those are all metabolic diseases, and they're all on the spectrum of metabolism. So I tell people metabolism is kind of like having a Christmas tree. Right, so you have the main tree, and then the little branches that are leaning off the tree are all the diseases that come through that tree. And so all the diseases in metabolism are hanging off that tree. Make sense so far? All right. So what are we doing? So diabetes is the prototypic metabolic disease. It is the one that encompasses a lot of the other features for other diseases on that spectrum. And so if we could find a way to manage diabetes, to reverse diabetes, then those same procedures, those same plans, those same things that we do for diabetes, we can now extrapolate into the other diseases. So if I can manage my diabetes, if I can find a way to deal with what's going on when it comes to diabetes, I can also find a way to deal with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome. I can decrease my risk for coronary artery disease or heart disease. Right? So you're following me along, right? So metabolism, dysfunctional. Diabetes, we're reversing diabetes. So what are we going to do to reverse diabetes? And that's the space that we're walking through. Limitless living, the pathway for reversing diabetes. One of the most powerful tools that we have at our disposal is the tool of fasting. Because fasting hits the three pillars that we talk about when we talk about reversing diabetes: decreasing insulin, suppressing the appetite, and reducing sugar. Decreasing insulin, suppress appetite, reduce sugar. Why is that important? Because when we fast, we're not ingesting anything. Because we're not ingesting anything, then we are automatically reducing the amount of sugar that we're taking in. When we reduce the amount of sugar, by virtue of that, the body doesn't have to make as much insulin, or you don't have to take as much insulin, or you don't have to take as much medication. And we've automatically decreased the insulin. right? Remember, decrease insulin, suppress appetite, reduce sugar. So we've reduced sugar by not eating anything. That decreases the insulin. And because insulin is an appetite stimulant or appetite stimulator, then our appetite is suppressed. I want you to follow the chain, right? And that's why fasting is so fascinating. And it's free. That's the beauty of it, right? It's free. You don't have to go buy any special foods. You don't have to go sign up for any membership anywhere. You don't have to go and change what you're doing in terms of what you're purchasing at the store. All you have to do is fast. And you're hitting those 3 pillars. And so on our Dwain Woode MD Live show, we're walking through the pathway of all the things that we need to do, or all the theory, the concepts, the practical tools. We're walking through that process on the show. And in our check-ins, we are learning about the tools that we're getting from the show and how do we do that successfully. And one of the tools, of course, is fasting. If you were with us in our last episode yesterday when we did our check-in at 53 hours actually, you heard me talk about balanced bites. So balanced bites is another tool that we use to right our metabolism. Right? Because remember, the things that we put in, the foods that we eat, they send signals to the body. And those signals can disrupt or support our metabolism. And so we talked about how that works in the body. What are the things that we need to do? Whole foods, minimize processing foods, no added sugar, lean protein, healthy fats, starchy, non-starchy vegetables, appropriate portion sizes, and tasty food. That is the balanced bites that we talk about. Every bite counts. Every bite counts. And so here, fasting is the thing that we're using, or one of the things that we're using, to be able to right our metabolism. And if we can do that, then those diseases that we talk about, yeah, there we go. So let me go back and let's make another point. And we're going to do our check-in here in a minute, but I just want to get this to you. So whenever we're managing diabetes, right, the goal is, and we're talking type 2 diabetes. That's why you hear me say adults with type 2 diabetes. Type 1, that's a whole different story, another conversation. But for type 2 diabetes, most type 2 diabetes are still making insulin in their body. Your body's still making insulin. So the question then becomes, if I'm making insulin, why do I have to take insulin? And why do I have to take medications that cause my body to produce more insulin? And the reason for that is that there is a discord between what your blood sugar is and the amount of insulin that your body makes. So the amount of insulin that's there is inadequate for what the sugar is, for some reason, right? We won't get into the discussion of whether it's insulin insensitivity or insulin inaction, or just the amount that the body's making, or whether there's something blocking the insulin or something that's packing the cell and preventing the insulin from getting there, or preventing the sugar from going in. Whatever the reason is, the insulin that your body's making is not working. It's not able to bring the blood sugar down. I shouldn't say not working. It's not able to bring the blood sugar down to normal. So here's the sugar, it's high, and here's the amount of insulin that's in the body, it's not adequate. But anytime that we can get those two to balance, every time we can get them to equal, medication goes away. Let me say that again. If we can ever bring the blood sugar down to match the amount of insulin your body's making, or bring the amount of insulin that your body makes up to what the blood sugar is, then there's no need for medication. Come on now, you follow me? So whenever we talk about managing diabetes, the goal is to get that blood sugar to match the insulin. And right now, for most of the times that what we do is basically what we do is we take a diabetic who has high blood sugars and we give them enough insulin, right? We do this part, right? So we don't talk about, well, we do sometimes. We don't talk about bringing the blood sugar down. We say, hey, we got to give you more insulin. And we keep giving insulin until it gets to the point where the blood sugar is matching, and then the blood sugar comes down. But that's insulin from outside. How do I sensitize my body to insulin? One of the ways of doing that is with fasting. One of the ways of doing that is with balanced bites. Right? Because fasting said I'm bringing sugar down because I'm not taking anything in. And if I do that enough, then all of a sudden the amount of insulin my body makes matches what the sugar is. And how do I bring it down? I bring it down by the things I eat. Whole foods, non-processed foods, not added sugar, right? Starchy, non-starchy vegetables, lean protein, healthy fats, appropriate portion size. And all of a sudden, that balanced bites causes my blood sugar to match what the insulin is. Make sense? Awesome. All right. So that's the premise that we're on. And so here now we are fasting. And I usually do a 72-hour fast. And I shared with our community members earlier this week that I was going to be cooking, and I'm not that good a cook to be able to not taste when I cook. And so I was making stuff for my son. And you'll see there, was making some chicken. And actually, let me change this. There we go. Was making some chicken and a couple of different types of chicken. I was making some curry chicken, and I was making some jerk chicken. All right, so you got the 2 bowls there with the chicken that I've cleaned and washed. And now I'm getting ready to do some seasoning in there. And so you'll see me take one of those, and we'll start to drop the seasonings in there. And so the reason I'm saying that is that we were at 58, 59 hours of fasting, and has to taste it, and so blood sugars went up. So you'll see that here in just a minute. And so we fasted for about 59 hours this week. And then we cooked, and then we're getting ready, I shouldn't say we're getting ready, but we restarted the fast after that. So that was maybe a 2-3 hour period as I was doing that. And so we restarted the fast, and so we'll take a look at what my blood sugars have done there in just a minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward through this, and as I start to I've got some salt that's going in there. We've got some black pepper, some garlic. And this is actually an episode that we were taping. So we'll come back and you'll see more of this. But just as the seasonings are getting in there, right? And then I start to mix that up. Got some Walker's Wood jerk seasoning that we're going to put in there. And then we're going to start mixing that up. Then we get a knife and we start cutting through that. Anyway, so you guys get the idea. We begin to put that in our pan and get that into the oven. Okay, we won't show you the rest of that. You got to come back to see the full. You got to come back to see the full episode of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do a check-in. And so I'm going to talk about 2 things: how I was feeling at 59 hours. And then now, let's see, that's 12 plus 12. So about 14, 15 hours now in terms of this fast. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's do our check-in. So that's not the one I intended to do. That's our discussion. So let's see, where are we? Here we are. All right, give me there it is. Fat fingers. So how am I feeling physically? So I'm talking about how I was feeling back when I was fasting, and at the time I was in the fast, was not feeling lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty. I had been doing a good job of resting. I've been doing a good job of hydrating, right? So I've got my mug here. And so those symptoms that we sometimes will feel in the fast often come from the fact that we're not rested. And I was actually feeling energetic. If you look at our episode that we did last night, it was right at 53 hours. Okay. In terms of my thought process, feeling pretty clear, not feeling any Not feeling any issues there at all. And now fast forward, I'm actually feeling good because of course I'm restarting the fast. Okay. And then same thing emotionally, pretty energetic, lots of good things going on with my family. Just came back and had a walk with my wife, and we had a conversation. We do our walk Friday, Saturday, Sunday when when our schedule. We try to do that as much as possible. And then did, of course, one of our episodes for the 100-day walk to consistency. So lots of good things. And so emotionally right now feeling pretty good. All right. So that's where we are in terms of our check-in. So let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at blood sugars. And you see on the screen there, that is my blood sugar right now. It's 100. I think when we did our check-in yesterday, it was at 70. And we'll look at the Dexcom in just a minute to see how high it went during the whole cooking episode. And so back here, right, if you remember when we did our check-in, we were like 92, and then we were cooking, and I think it got up to about 150 maybe was the highest, 146, and then started coming back down. And then up to 153 is what we were, right? Got up to 153. And all of that is from the cooking from yesterday. Okay? And the tasting and so forth. Okay? And so here we are now at 127 according to this, and according to the Libre 100. Let's go ahead and let's see what my ketones are going to be. All right, because my ketones yesterday when we were fasting at 53 hours, my ketones were at 1.8. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's take a look and see what those ketones are right now. So here I've got my Keto Mojo app meter, and I've got my contour meter. Let's go ahead and grab a strip for each of those. And if you're out there, what do you think my ketones are going to be? Go ahead and drop a comment in the comment. What do you think the ketones are going to be? And I see some, this is going to the wrong. I see some of our community members out there. We'll come and say hi to you in just a minute. I think I see somebody said they've never had curry or jerk chicken. Oh man. So we're going to have a time where we have some of that. I think that was Steve who said that. All right, so we're gonna have some curry chicken and some jerk chicken, and I'm gonna go ahead and open up. This is the ketone strip for the Keto Mojo, and I'm gonna just put that off to the side over here. And I think I still have, and I'm gonna have to replenish this. So my handy dandy container. So I do have one of the Lancets that I like. So I'm going to go ahead and use that one. And this is basically a twist off. So you twist off the top and you find a finger. And I tend to go around the same places. So I'm going to have to make sure I go pretty good stick so I get a good brisk drop of blood. And that's not as brisk as I wanted, but it's adequate. Let's go ahead and get this one started. And that's the contour. Let's see if we can get a couple of more drops because we got to get the Keto Mojo going. And so right now 102 according to the 102 according to the contour, 111 according to Keto Mojo, and of course right there the Libre is saying 99. I'm gonna go ahead and take this strip out, get this one in. Oops. All right, gotta get it in quickly so that my blood, okay, so there we are. I still have a good drop. So go ahead and get that started. All right, and get that going. All right, so we'll see what our ketones are doing here in just a minute. And we'll come back to talk about that. All right, so let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's say hello to some of our community members that I do see out there. I see Steve, and Steve is saying, he says, looking forward to the chicken recipe. Looking forward to the chicken recipe. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. That's going to be a good one. If you got our if you got our recipe book, food cheat codes, then the recipe for the curry chicken is in it. I'm trying to remember if the jerk chicken is in there as well, but we'll share it as part of that episode. And then Pamela says, not recipes, Steve, samples. That's right. We don't want the recipes. Steve says yes. And Steve says, I have 6 more hours left in my fast. Steve, how many hours would that put you at when you do the 6 hours? So Pamela says, so do we need tube making appointments to go in after the cooks? Do we need tube? I think I'm missing what you're saying there, Pam. Go ahead and say that one more time. Steve says, absolutely. Pam is laughing. I've never had curry chicken, as Steve says, or jerk chicken. Yeah, we gotta arrange that. And Steve says 1.2. Steve said my ketones are 1.8, 18. Okay, 18 hours in, right? And then Pam says, I don't understand how to determine it. And I'm assuming you're talking about determining the ketones. So there's really not a formula for ketones. There's not a formula for ketones. As I was explaining in our hangout just the other night, someone was asking about predicting ketones. And remember, ketones are really kind of individual. So there's not a formula for what the ketones are going to be. And in fact, when we think about ketones at say 24 hours, right? We say that glycogen typically goes away at 24 hours, mostly gone. Depending on what you ate leading into the fast, right? At 24 hours, you may still not be at the ketone level you thought you would be, right? Because remember, the body has to process all those carbs, all that sugar, and so insulin level is high, and that insulin delays the production of ketones. So that's another reason why it's so important about the things that we eat leading into a fast, because they can affect how the fast goes in terms of reaching some of those metabolic markers and milestones. Okay? Awesome. Great question. All right, so let's go ahead and let's hop into our discussion. So we're talking about fasting, and we are talking about a successful fast. And when we talk about fasting successfully, and we've kind of alluded to the benefits that we get from fasting. Remember, fasting in this space, we're talking about reversing diabetes, but it is also good for all the other metabolic diseases. Let me do something here really quickly. All the other metabolic diseases that are out there. Okay, so it's not that that fasting is only for diabetes. We're talking about diabetes here, but you can apply fasting to so many of the other things that you, disease processes that you find yourself having issues with. So remember that. So fasting is great for that, but it also can help with some of your other disease processes, those metabolic diseases. Okay, so fasting. When we talk about fasting, we break fasting down into a couple of different sections. And I want to talk about 3, and that is how we prepare for the fast, how we get through the fast successfully, and then how we break the fast. Okay? Because each of those components is just as important as the other. Because if we don't do a good job of, the fast, then it doesn't go well. If we don't prepare for the fast, then we don't get into the fast and do well. And then if we break the fast in a way that is not conducive for maintaining the benefits, then we lose the benefits of that fast, and we do not want to do that. Okay, so preparing for the fast, getting through the fast, and of course breaking the fast. Right, those are the 3 areas. So let's go ahead and let's talk about preparing for the fast. Why do we do that? Why do we have to prepare? What are the benefits? So why preparing for the fast is important? It is because how you prepare determines the ultimate success in the fast. What does that mean? That means that you are going to be getting into an area, fasting, that is not just about simply not eating food. And I think that's where often we will have difficulty because people think that fasting is simply not eating food. And while that is the major thing that's going on, there are psychological, mental, emotional, physical things that are going on with the fast. And if you're not aware of that, then you have the success that you have is interesting. Okay, so when we're talking about fasting, we want to make sure that we're prepared. We want to prepare physically, we want to prepare mentally, and we want to prepare emotionally. Because if we don't do that, then that sets us up for lots of difficulty or lots of challenges as we move into the fast. Okay, so that's preparing for the fast. It allows you to determine what the milestones are as you are moving through the fast, so that you can actually track yourself and say, okay, this is where I am, this is where I want to be, this is where I should be, and okay, I'm not there yet. I wonder what's going on. Do I need to tweak something? Do I need to adjust? Do I need to pivot? Do I need to interrupt the fast even? Right? Because we can interrupt the fast just so that we are not having issues and not listening to our body. So we want to make sure that we're always listening to our body. Okay, so that is very, very important. So mental preparation, what does that look like? Well, when we prepare mentally, what we're doing is we are setting ourselves up so that we are prepared for the things that are going to happen. We're prepared for the milestones that are coming. We're prepared for the challenges that might happen. Because remember, when we're fasting, physically, mentally, emotionally, we can have challenges that show up. And if we're not careful, we can get derailed because we did not prepare for that. Okay, so we're looking at goals. We're setting clear goals and understanding what's going on in the fasting. We're visualizing what's going to happen. Imagine the benefits that we're getting when we get to the end of the fast. Because there are times, let me talk about myself. There are times when I am fasting and I am at whatever number of hours, 48 hours, 52 hours. I'm approaching 70 hours, maybe approaching 72 hours, and something happens. Some emotional issue happens, some stressor, I'm feeling fatigued. I'm here in the studio and I'm up late and I can't get this thing through. And the tendency is to say, okay, let me go eat something, because of course that's our go-to, right? Because the food is always there. It never complains. It never talks back, and it's always there to allow us to lean our heads on it. So the food is always there. And so my brain says, hey, if you have a piece of chocolate or eat one of those bags of chips, you're going to feel better. And then I have to remind myself, because I made that visual of what it feels like when I end the fast, or what it's going to be like when I improve the metabolism. And frankly, there's one other thing, and I've shared this with you guys before. Like when I bought those Cadburys. You guys saw the episode where I bought those 18 Cadbury bars. Do you know the reason I didn't eat one of them? Was because I was about to go live. Yep. And I said, well, wait a minute. If I eat this right now, what's going to happen to my blood sugar? Because I'm about to show Steve what my blood sugars are. I'm about to show Pam what my blood sugars are. Right? So we'll talk about community in just a minute, and the benefit of community. So education. So once you figure out which fasting method you're going to use, then you want to educate yourself about that fasting method and what it takes to be successful at that fast. We've done a show where we broke fasting down into the different types of fasting, whether it's intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day, extended fasting, 24, 48, 72 hours, alternate day fasting, time restricted eating. We did that. And then we came back and we did a show where we talked about the disease processes that various fasting methods help. Okay, so whether it's weight loss, improving insulin sensitivity, improving glucose, improving fatty liver, improving inflammation, and boosting your immune system. So all of those. So there are two. Actually, I think we did maybe 4 episodes in that series. So go back and look at those, and you'll get through that. Now I'm going to do something here that is a little different. I usually go through my discussion completely, and then we come back, we talk to our community. But I see a special guest that's out there with us, and I just want to hop over and say hello to my friend Cheryl. Cheryl, how are you? I'm so excited that you're here. She said, "Hey, hey, Dwain. Yes, fasting helps my energy levels." I'm so glad that you're here, my friend. I owe you a call, by the way. But thank you for coming through. Thank you for hanging out with us for just a little while. So good to have you here. Yeah, so fasting, right? So we're preparing for that fast. We are setting ourselves mentally so that we can get to the fast and be successful. The other thing is, so not just educate yourself, but begin putting things in place that are going to help boost your spirits as you go through the fast. One of the most important things that we can do is do affirmations. Right? So we can tell ourselves, I am working on my metabolism. I am improving my health. I am reversing my diabetes. I am becoming more insulin sensitive. I am losing weight. I am improving my fatty liver. This is what I'm doing this for. This helps elicit the help of your inner coach, right? That part of you that is the cheerleader. Because the inner critic, remember, the inner critic is always there to tell you the things that you've done wrong, the things you're not going to be successful at, the things that won't work. And so what we want to do is we want to give the inner coach the supply, the energy, the things it needs to cheer us on, to boost our spirits, and to keep us going through this process. Okay, so mental preparation. And then, of course, nutritional preparation. And there are a lot of things there that we can talk about, but the main thing that I want to talk about is the fact that if you come into the fast having just eaten a high carb, high sugary meal, then the body has to process all of that before it gets to burn the stored excess. What does that mean? That means that if you just ate a donut, then the body is going to produce insulin to combat the blood sugar that comes from the donut. And insulin is one of the things that prevents ketones from coming out. So if I have to be processing the sugar that comes from the donut, then my ability to move into ketosis is delayed. So that you expect that at 18 hours, that your body's now getting ready to shift into ketosis because at 24 hours, the carbohydrates go away. But it doesn't do it at 24 hours because it has spent all that time dealing with the donut. So what you want to do as you're preparing to get to a fast, you want to begin decreasing the carbs and the sugary things that you're eating. So if you fast on Wednesday, right, and you end the fast on Wednesday, you fast on Wednesday, you start eating on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, coming back around to fast on Wednesday. Then on Monday and Tuesday, you need to begin decreasing the carbs, decreasing the sugar you're eating. Now, we're not talking about not eating any carbs because our balanced bite says that part of what you're going to be eating has to be carbs, right? Starchy, non-starchy vegetables, that whole idea. You want to increase healthy fats. You want to increase proteins. This is leading up to the fast. Because those will help you stay satiated longer. They will help delay the emptying of your stomach. They will send a signal to your brain that says, hey, I am full. And you won't have those hunger pangs, right? Because remember, ghrelin and leptin, the hunger and satiety hormones, they are directly affected by carbohydrates and protein. Fats and proteins. When we eat fats, the body produces cholecystokinin, which is a signal that goes to the brain that says I'm full. When we eat protein, then it produces protein YY, which also signals, hey, I'm full, delays gastric emptying, and you feel fuller longer. So that helps you through that initial period in the fast. Then you want to determine the specific meal you're going to eat before the fast. So don't just let it be random, because if things are random, guess what's going to happen? You're going to just grab whatever is available. It's like, oh my God, I got to get into the fast. So I'm going to go to the refrigerator and I got another 15, 20 minutes before the fast starts. So I'm just going to grab whatever's there. I'm going to eat it. Yeah. So prepare, determine what it is that you're going to eat as you get the last meal before you get into the fast, and then gradually reduce your eating window. So if you are here and you're saying, okay, I'm going to start fasting, don't jump into a 36-hour or 48-hour, 72-hour fast, right? Begin working on a lower, slower, shorter fast, and then expand it as you are able to, so that you can be successful. All right, so preparing for the nutritional. And then hydration. And you guys, you keep hearing me say, hey, I've got my mug. I had to deliberately say to myself, hey, you need to drink, you need to drink, you need to drink. Because when we're fasting, because we're not eating, the tendency is to also not think about drinking, right? Because you're not taking in food, so I'm not going to drink anything either. And it's not a conscious decision, it's that we just don't think about it. So I have to literally consciously say, yes, you got to drink, you got to drink. At the office a couple of days ago, I was feeling a little woozy and realized that the day prior, because I started my fast on Tuesday afternoon, and so I had gone an entire day and I'd only drank one bottle of water. Right, because I wasn't even thinking about it. And so one of my team members, she's like, have you been drinking? She said, I haven't seen you drink anything. And I had not. Okay, so once I got that, started drinking, and I felt better. So hydration and electrolytes, very important. Herbal teas are good, like green tea, chamomile tea, peppermint. They hydrate you, and they also help you get relaxed as you're moving through the fast. And then physical preparation. So if you are someone who does strength training, unless you're doing fasting workouts, which is a specific thing, then leading up to the fast, you want to begin decreasing the strenuous activities. You can still walk, do light exercising, swimming, yoga, etc. But the heavy lifting that you're doing, unless you're doing fasting workouts, we kind of say, hey, let's back down on that a little bit, because we don't want to I don't want to say waste, but we don't want to become overly stressed during the fasting. You want to reduce the strenuous exercise 1 to 2 days before you start fasting, and you want to aim for at least 7 hours of quality sleep. So we're talking about preparation. So decreasing strenuous activity, getting good sleep, begin reducing caffeine or energy drinks, because what happens is once you get into the fast, if you're going through those withdrawals, then those will feel interesting as you get into the fast, and you may not get through the fast successfully, not because of fasting is a problem, but because of the drinks that you had. Okay, all right. So let's see. So that is preparation, and then environment, and you'll see there that I took out the word. I took out the word unhealthy snacks. It says remove unhealthy snacks. I really think we should remove snacks, period, because there's no physiologic reason for snacking. I've been saying that I need to do a show specifically about snacking, but there's no physiologic reason for snacking. We snack because it's comfortable. We snack because there's emotion going on. We snack because of habit. We snack because of taste. We snack because we're bored. Right? But there's no physiologic reason why snacking needs to be done, and so we don't need to snack. And then what are some what are some of the things I want you to take away from this, from preparing? Takeaways: preparation is key. You want to prepare mentally. You want to get good rest. You want to get nutrient dense meals, and you want to get in community. That one at the bottom. Community, important. And this is what I was saying when I bought those Cadbury's and I was coming home. I was tempted to just bite into them, eat them, right? You know why I didn't? Because I was about to go into the community. And the community would hold me accountable and hold my feet to the fire and say, hey, wait a minute. The community is very, very important. Okay? So that is preparing for the fast. And then, of course, we say preparing for the fast, getting through the fast successfully. And getting through the fast successfully, we're going to break this down and talk about various stages in fasting, right? So how do we complete the fast? So we're going to talk about 0 to 24 hours, 24 to 48 hours, and then, of course, 48 to 72 hours. We're going to start with the 0 to 24. We'll go probably to 36 hours so you can see what's going on in the body. So the postprandial phase is really the phase right after you stop eating. So people say, I say, how long have you been fasting? They said 2 hours. Well, it technically, it is part of the fasting, but we really haven't started fasting yet, right? Because it was just the time when the body's breaking down the food. The body's processing the food. Insulin levels are high. Blood sugar is high because typically there's carbs in the stuff that we just ate. Is processing and digesting all that stuff, extracting. So metabolism, right, is the idea of extracting or taking food and converting it to energy. And so the body is now, processing all of that, right? So that's what's going on in that postprandial period. So it's not technically, I shouldn't say that. I'm gonna leave that alone. But you get the idea, right? So right now the body is processing the stuff. That's what it's doing. It has. You've just stopped eating, and the body is saying, "Hey, yeah, I'm getting the energy out of the things that they just ate." Okay. And that's important to understand, because if we don't, then we can say, hey, this is not happening, or I'm not seeing any benefits here. But really right now we're still processing food. And that's the postprandial period. And then the next 6 hours, going away from the postprandial period, the early fasting stage. And the early fasting stage is where your insulin levels are beginning to decrease because the body's extracted the food that it needed, or the energy that it needed. Glucagon levels are going up. Glycogenolysis, breaking down of glycogen from the liver, is happening because the body has sent some stuff to store and now it's taking that back out. That's happening in the 6 to 12 hour period. And then we begin transitioning to using fat. And we're transitioning to using fat because the glucose levels are beginning to dip. Insulin levels are going down, and the body's saying, hey, I need to begin trying to find some energy somewhere. Right? The liver starts gluconeogenesis, which is creating glucose from non-carbohydrate sources. All right, it's breaking down those and doing that. And then people may feel a dip in their energy because the body is now beginning to transition. It's kind of like going from, in a hybrid car, is going from burning gas to burning energy from the battery. And then ketosis begins 18 to 24 hours. Ketosis is going on. Glycogen stores are nearly depleted, right? So remember we talked about that 18 to 24 hour periods. So it takes about 24 hours for glycogen, from the liver to go away. Okay, and so the body is now saying, hey, I'm switching over to burning calories from fat. And then fat adaptation, 24 to 30 hours. So we are now full in force. The body has switched over. We're burning fat now, and we're producing ketones. This is where energy levels begin to improve. This is where our thought process begins to improve. This is where people say, I feel great. Because we have a constant, pure, clean, consistent source of energy. With blood sugar, with carbohydrates, it fluctuates, right? With ketones, you're burning the fat, and we got a ready source of fat, and that's there. It's just coming through, right? Think about a constant source of energy, right? Once again, going back to Tony Stark, when he puts that new arc reactor in and he turns it, right? That energy, that's constant, that's beautiful, that's pure, that's constant energy. Okay, and then how do we continue successfully fasting? We talked about preparing for the fast, fasting successfully, and of course breaking the fast. And breaking the fast is just as important as how we get through the fast, because if we don't break the fast well, then we can run into trouble. So some tips before we kind of let's just say before, as we dive into it. So number one, monitor blood sugars. One of the reasons I love, and you see me doing it all the time, is I monitor my blood sugars all the time because I want to know what's going on. I want to know what the food is doing. I want to know what the stress is doing, the sleep is doing. I want to know what being ill is doing. And you guys saw, as you watched me the last several weeks, I was sick back in the latter part of the year, and it has taken me about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months now, for my blood sugars to right themselves, right? To get back to the space where they are becoming where I'd expect them to be, right? Because my blood sugars were 30, 40 points, sometimes 50 or 60 points higher than they normally were because of the inflammation, because of the illness that I had gone through. And so I've been struggling with that over the last several weeks. I would not know that if I'm not monitoring. And so there are things I did to compensate for that, right? So there are times when I sure enough wanted to eat something that was in my, you guys, if you saw our episode yesterday, you saw my my show box, my demonstration box, right? So there's some stuff in there that I was like, man, I'm going to eat that. But I had to make a decision because I saw what the blood sugar was. So you want to monitor. There are some inexpensive blood sugar monitors on the market. There is actually a over-the-counter continuous glucose monitor that you can get without a prescription, and all of those are beneficial. Okay, so monitor. Number two, portion control. Often the difficulty that we run into with our fasting is not about the thing we eat, but the portions of the things that we're eating. Because we've gotten so used to big portions that we're eating, quote unquote, the right things, but we're eating a lot of it. It's kind of like me with, let's see, what do I have in my show and tell box here? It's kind of like me with, let's see what I got. Oh, here's one. It's kind of like me with nuts, right? Almonds. Let me pull that up. All right, it's kind of like me with almonds, right? And so I say almonds are good, and so I eat a lot more. Now these ones are the ones that I have in my show and tell box because, right, it has stuff on it that causes it to be not the best of what we want, but in my head, in my brain, I was like, man, that's healthy, so I can eat a lot more of it. So portions, so very important. Eating slowly. It takes about 20 minutes for the signal to come from your stomach to your brain that says you're full. 20 minutes. So if you get in there and you just shovel it in, by the time the signal gets there, you've eaten 2 or 3 times what you should have eaten. All right, so slow down. That helps you digest, and it helps that signal get to your brain. And then avoid sugary processed foods. We're talking about breaking the fast. Can you imagine coming out of the fast, and as you're coming out of the fast, you go out and you grab a donut, you grab a muffin, you grab something that's full of carbs, right? High carbs. As soon as that happens, your insulin level comes out, has to go up because your body has to treat that blood sugar. When that happens, when that insulin goes up, then the ketones go away right away, right? They begin going down. They begin going down. When that happens, we also move away from burning fat to burning carbs. And because insulin is up, the appetite is stimulated. And when the appetite is stimulated, the thing that we crave is carbs. And so you find yourself ravenous and you think, man, that fasting did this to me. It wasn't the fasting that did it. It was the fact that when we came out of the fast, the thing that we ate following the fast was what stimulated the whole process in the first place. Okay? And so we want to make sure that we are that we're doing that and we're watching the things that we're eating. Hydration is very important, just as is important as we prepare for the fast. It's also important during the fast, and it's important as we break the fast as well. So water, coconut water, herbal teas, those are all good things. Of course, we want to make sure that we're getting good proteins in. Eggs would be good. chicken or turkey breast, tofu or tempeh for those who are vegetarian and or vegan. Those are good sources of protein. Remember, Balanced Bites. Balanced Bites says that we are eating foods that are conducive for our health. And so it is whole foods, minimizing processed foods, no added sugar, lean protein, healthy fats, starchy and non-starchy vegetables, tasty and flavorful, and then of course portion controlled. Right? So that is our concept of Balanced Bites, and those are the things that we're eating. And this is a great place for you to begin thinking that, because after we break our fast, or as we're breaking our fast, these are the types of foods that we want to eat in our non-fasting window. Okay, so Balanced Bites. So make sure that you're getting enough protein. Make sure you're getting healthy fats. Another point within Balanced Bites. So avocados, nuts, seeds, all of those are beneficial for us because we're getting those healthy fats. Remember, fat and protein, both of those will delay your gastric emptying. They will keep you fuller longer. They will send a signal to your brain that says, hey, I am not hungry. Okay, and that's what we want. And then, of course, broths. And I tend to break my fast with broth. I have not done that the last several weeks. And I had a salad that I was going to break my fast with today. But as I mentioned before, we were cooking, and so that disrupted. And so we've restarted the fast. Not sure how many, maybe go a day or two in this part of the fast. And then some considerations. When breaking the fast, we want to choose foods that help you maintain stable blood sugars. You don't want a whole lot of fluctuations, because if you do, insulin is going to begin fluctuating, and that causes weight gain, it stimulates the appetite, and all the downstream things that we talked about. Okay? And then focus on low glycemic index foods, that is a glycemic index of 50 or less, lean protein, healthy fats, and you want to remain hydrated. Now, one point that I want to address here, because one of our community members asked this in our group, and so the question was, and I was making a comment just like I did before, that insulin. That let me back up. So insulin will cause weight gain. Insulin will stimulate the appetite. And I made the comment that when you eat a lot of high processed foods, okay, then your body is going to treat that with producing insulin so that the blood sugar comes down. And when the insulin comes out, the drop in blood sugar will stimulate your appetite, because you'll feel that as though your energy is dropping. Right, so that's why those big fluctuations are not good, because every time you're up here and come down, your body feels that as loss of energy, and it makes you want to eat to compensate for that. Okay, so I hope that question, that answers your question, and it was Ji Yun who asked that question, so I hope that that answers it for you. Okay. All right. So let's hop over and let's take a look at my report, and you'll see that there on the screen. This is my Dexcom Clarity report, and this is my 14-day. Let's go ahead and do 90 days. And you'll see that I am in target 71% of the time, and that is the whole, like I said, 30 to 40 points higher than it has been before. My average blood sugar is 158. I usually tell people we want to shoot between 100 and 120, right? So you'll see there that that's 30 points higher than it should have been. My glucose management indicator is 7.1. So if I got an A1C, that is what I'm approximating that it's going to be. So we'll be getting our blood work here in just a little while, because I have an appointment with my doctor coming up in a couple of weeks. So we'll see what that number actually is. Okay, and that's been a very frustrating thing for me. If you're out there and you're seeing that, I guess a good point to make here is that there are times when you're not necessarily doing something wrong. It's something going on physiologically that's causing the issue. And so I've struggled, right, in my management of blood sugars over the last couple of month and a half, I think. All right, so let's take a look at my daily graphs. And let's back up. So we started fasting right here. Okay, so we ate, and then blood sugar spiked up, and then blood sugar started coming down. And so for the rest of that day into the next day, we were straddling 100, 120, maybe low 100s, and then started going down, 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 down into the 80s and 90s Wednesday, and then Thursday, right, staying in the low 100s the entire day, coming down into the 80s and 90s, and right here my Dexcom ended, and that was at 6 p.m. and I didn't put one back on until about 9 p.m. 3 hours later. But here we are still in the 90s. Had a little fluctuation over here, 100 to 114, and then coming into oh, wait a minute. Yeah, so yesterday, the Thursday, yeah, right in here is where we began. We broke the fast, right? So right in here, and you see we went up, and then we climbed in that morning. So we were still hanging out in one low 100s, and then blood sugar's up, 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 up. Now by this time I'm sleeping, right? This time I'm sleeping, and we got all the way up to 145, and then I think this morning it peaked up again to 153, and then now it's coming back down. So that's what's been going on with my blood sugar. Let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at my ketones, and let's get this one off the screen. Here is my Keto Mojo. Grab that out, and let's go ahead and get that started. And then get over to my Keto Mojo app, and we'll see. And I think I saw some. Oh, there we go. Oh, what's going on there? I think I saw some guesses. I think Steve says he thinks that it's going to be 1.2. Yeah, 1.2 is what Steve said. So let's go ahead and let's sync it. It was 1.8 yesterday. 1.8 yesterday. And let's hop over here. And drum roll, please. Drum roll, please. Anybody else want to get their guess in? What do you think my ketones are after 15 hours of fasting? And eating for, my eating window probably was for about 2 hours, maybe. All right, so let's go ahead and let's see. Okay, so my blood sugar 111. And my ketones 1.9, right? So still very good considering the fact that my blood sugar went up to 150s after eating, and so we're still in ketosis. And so my getting back immediately into my fasting, I think, is helping me in that space. Remember, ketones that are less than 0.5 considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. If we look at my graph, let's go ahead there, okay? And so right here, well, let's talk about this. So the tan line, those are blood sugars. And so the blood sugars were dropping as I was fasting, and then of course as I ate, the blood sugar went up, right? So we were down at, 74 when we did our check-in yesterday, and then up to 111 now. As the blood sugars went down, right? So blood sugars are dropping. Notice the ketones, which is the turquoise line, the ketones were going up. And then right here, when the blood sugar started going up, then you see that there is a little place right there where the ketones dipped a little bit. So the ketones probably would have been higher, right, had we not eaten yesterday when we were cooking. But they dropped a little bit because the sugar came up, and when the sugar came up, of course, insulin had to come out. So always remember that insulin and ketones cannot be in the same space. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's hop over and let's see some of our comments. Let's back up. Pamela. Okay, we'll work into that. And of course, we said hello to Cheryl. So once again, thank you, Cheryl, for coming through. And then Steve says it's a keto BM meter. Okay. Um, Blinking manager, best viewers. Just stream that. Okay. Pamela says okay, and Bowie says woke up with so many Valentine's chocolate gifts. My poor blood sugar. Hey, this is one of those days, right? This is one of those days. And I suppose this is a good place to talk about what do we do? What do we do in those instances where, as a diabetic or someone who's working on metabolism, you run into a holiday like Valentine's, Thanksgiving, Christmas, maybe it's your birthday, maybe it's your anniversary, right? And so I want to give you a framework. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to give you a framework to help make that decision. The conversation that goes on in our heads when it comes to that has to do with, and let's back up here. Yeah. So the conversation in our heads is usually a conversation that is a combative conversation. So I should do that. And so I want to do that, but man, I shouldn't because my blood sugar is going to be high. Oh man, that's going to taste so good, but I know that's going to mess up my metabolism. And so we go back and forth between those two. Inevitably, what happens for a lot of people is that they lose the battle. And when I say lose the battle, they're fighting to not eat the thing, but because of the tension, the brain says, you know what? Rather than keep this tension going, I'm just going to eat it. And if you know anything about battles and wars, whoever wins the battle gets to do whatever they want. And so because that part of your brain won, it's going to eat whatever it wants, and it's going to eat actually a lot more than you would have eaten had you won, right? So the battle itself causes some dissension, causes some cognitive dissonance, if you will. And so at the end of that struggle, the body says, you know what? The brain says, you know what? What the heck? I'm going to eat it, and we're going to start over tomorrow. And it ends up eating a lot more than we intend. Okay? So that's one concept. The other thing is that when we have not made a decision about what we're going to do, if we get to a situation, say you go out, you go with family and you guys are hanging out and you haven't decided yet whether you're going to eat the stuff or not eat the stuff, when you get there, if you feel like you have succumbed, right, and you eat the stuff, you're going to feel bad, you're going to feel worse, and you're going to eat to compensate for how you felt. Right? Notice what the brain does. It says, man, I feel bad because I ate the stuff, I shouldn't have eaten it, and to feel better, let me go eat some more stuff that makes me feel good. Okay? So what I want you to do is, number one, I want you to get rid of the fight. That's right. Get rid of the fight. Because the more you struggle, the more you're feeding into this idea. I want you to make a decision. Either you're going to eat or you're not going to eat. Make the decision before you get there. Say, hey, you know what? This is Valentine's Day, and today I'm going to eat chocolate. Done. Hey, this is Thanksgiving. It's my birthday. I'm going to eat the stuffing that Aunt Sue made. I'm going to eat some of the peach cobbler. I'm going to eat whatever it is. I'm going to eat it and be done with it. Because when you do that, you've made a decision. I'm going to eat it. There's no stress. There's no dissension. There's no friction. And so I don't have to keep eating to compensate for the fact that I feel bad because I ate. Okay? That's the first thing. If you're deciding that you are not going to eat it, right? So you've made that decision, then that's okay. You need to be okay with the fact that, hey, I've made a decision that I'm not going to eat it. If I eat it, I made that decision. If I don't eat it, I've made the decision before I get there, rather than being in the situation and then having the situation cause us to have problems. Because then it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 days, maybe a week, a month for us to get back on, quote unquote, the bandwagon. Okay? So I love that. I love that. All right. So back to Bowie. So I heard that apple cider vinegar lowers blood sugar, but I don't know how it works. So very good question. Very good question. So apple cider vinegar, right? There are some enzymes in the body. They're called amylase, and the enzymes break down carbohydrates. Amylase, right? Enzymes break down carbohydrates. And what apple cider vinegar does is it inhibits the part of the enzyme that breaks down the carbohydrates. So what it does, it prevents your body from absorbing the carbohydrates in the first place. Okay, so that's how apple cider vinegar works. And it's really any acidic. Apple cider vinegar is the one that everybody talks about, but you should get benefit with other kinds of acidic things as well. Pamela White says the show last night about balanced bites was really helpful for me. Well, thank you, Pam. I'm glad. I'm glad it was. Yeah, make sure that you guys go back and watch that. That was a very good, and that's a pivotal concept as we're moving through the space of metabolic health, right? Because we're talking about fasting, but what do you do on the non-fasting day? Right? Let's see. But we say, I don't really want to eat it, but I feel bad when people give me things. The social obligation feels like the heart. Oh man, I love this. I'm glad that you're here because you're making some very good points. Very, very good points. So when I said earlier, decide to eat it or not eat it. Okay, when you make a decision, there are some things that you've got to understand, and this is what one of the points that you were making. So we are built for community. We're built for community. You know what that means? That means that we like to be in community with people. That's how we're built. And so there are times when people will do a fasting regimen, for example, and they'll start the fast at 5 o'clock and say they're going to do a 16-hour fast, right? So 5 o'clock the next morning, that's 12 hours. Add another 4 hours to that, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they start eating at 9 o'clock. Well, the problem is that the family sits down to eat at 6 o'clock. So they've started their fast an hour before the family is getting ready to sit down. And one of two things happens in that situation. One, either they completely break the fast because every time there's a friction and they don't want to be in friction, and they're sitting at the table maybe, or they're sitting somewhere else and they feel left out, and the brain doesn't want that. So the brain says, you know what, forget this fasting thing, let's go eat. Or they will stick to the fast and now cause other relational issues. So I tell people it's all about scheduling. Okay. Now, in this situation where people are giving you things, and I was in the office yesterday and somebody brought me some fruitcake, right? And it was one of my favorite fruitcakes. It's from, yeah. And so it's in the office, in the refrigerator, in the office. I'm going to eat some, right? But I made a decision about how much I'm going to eat. And so one of the things that you can do in those situations is to make decisions. Okay, thank you. I'm going to eat one. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to eat that. Right? And so very good points, because those are, we go through the process of these conversations, but the day-to-day stuff is where we get derailed. It's the interaction with other people. It's when I'm fasting and I'm going well, right? So I'm 72 hours or 48 hours, 56 hours, whatever the number of hours is, and I'm at work and it's lunchtime and my entire team gets up and they go to the break room and they're warming up their food, and then they go to our conference room and they're sitting together and eating and laughing, they're watching TV. That is where I have my problem. Or I come home and it's Taco Tuesday night, and my wife is making tacos for my son, and I'm away from that, or I'm sitting at the table watching them as they eat. That is where the difficulty comes in, right? And those are the everyday places that we run into our issues. So, well, thank you for dropping those in the comments. All right. Remember, everything that we do is built on our Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with the shows, the blogs, the podcast. We empower with the tools that we're learning, balanced bites. We learn how to fast. All the concepts that we're learning, those are the tools that help us in applying the concepts that we're learning on Dwain Woode MD Live. This path that we're walking through, limitless living. We educate, we empower, and we encourage with the community that we're building. If you've not been to one of our community meetups, you want to make sure you get there. We meet every fourth Thursday at 7 p.m. We do some coaching. We do some just discussion. It's good to see you guys typing in the chat, but it's so inspiring and so enlightening to see your faces, hear your voices, and to hear you telling your story. So if you've not done so, go ahead. You can get into that by going to the channel, and there's a join button that you'll see that show up somewhere down there. Okay? We educate, we empower, we encourage. Limitless living is what we're on. This is the path that we're on. So all the things that we're doing is with the idea of righting our metabolism. Because if we can right the metabolism, bring it back into balance, then those disease processes that are along the spectrum become much easier, and we can reverse our diabetes. Thank you for being here with me. We will be back on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for Video from the Vault. On Sunday morning, we'll have This Week in Review at 6 a.m. Central, and then we'll be right back here on Monday at 7 p.m. Central for Dwain Woode MD Live. I look forward to seeing you guys in the community. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. And Limitless Living says that there's nothing outside of me, there's nothing inside me that's going to prevent me from doing what I need to do to be healthy. I'm breaking through those boundaries, breaking through those barriers, and I'm presenting my best self, my best health, and my best plans for my life. Thank you for being here. Always excited to have you. Have a great weekend, and we will see you in our next show. Bye-bye, everybody.